Hi everyone. Thank you for coming to my presentation. My name is Ismet Bachtiar. I am here to talk about a very close aspect of technology that I feel that's not really covered a lot. I'm not too sure that this is the right forum or audience, considering the fact that a lot of people are working on business cases and I'm working on cultural cases, where how can you create a more diverse and vibrant culture in technology? But I'm hoping that whatever I'm showing off today would inspire people to actually pick up some of these ideas, change their attitudes towards just like seeing gamers or games as a very siloed type of enterprise, and to see that it's collaborations. I'm actually Singaporean, but I live in Norway. I've been living there for the last 18 years. Funny enough, I realized that Oslo is 1.5 hours away by plane to Riga, and Tromsø, where I live, way up in the north, is 2 hours away by plane. So that sense of like, wow, I'm really in a very, very far off, far flung place. But at the same time, Tromsø has always been this hub for exploration. It's always been a place for polar explorers. All the polar explorers who went to the North Pole stopped in Tromsø and they moved on. So it's been a place where people are unafraid to try new things. So maybe that's why I ended up in that place. This is a little bit of background to myself. I'm old. I'm 48 years old, but I've been a geek all my life. I grew up in the 80s. I mean, I don't really have photos of myself in that time, or at least not very good representations of those photos. So I got AI to do it. But this is representative of me. I'm reading video game manuals. I have like comic books all over the place. I'm watching He-Man or Transformers on TV. I grew up in pop culture. And I grew up also with the birth of video games. When I was 6 years old, Atari 2600. I remember when I was 10 years old, I prayed to God, like, please, God, please, please, please give me a computer. I just want a computer. And I got a computer when I was 9 years old. Very, very old Apple II, monochrome screen, brown and green. That was it. But it was enough to give me so much love for this. And there's something about it that was a medium that I could actually interact with. There's something I can do and it responds back to me instead of just watching TV or reading a book, which I also love. But there's something special about video games. And from then on, I mean, like I kind of pursued a career into video games and went through many different pathways. I mean, I started out. There's not really any video game education when I was like starting getting to university. So I went to media studies and I wanted to be a filmmaker first. But then I was arguing with my film lecturers and I was telling him like video games is such an important source of like media entertainment. And he was like, video games are for kids. And I'm like, no way. You know, I was completely pissed off of that. I had a business idea back then, which was to record all my friends playing video games because I said people will watch people playing video games. And people were like, you're crazy. Who would do that? And so I was doing it analog, recording people playing on the PlayStation, putting into my reel and trying to create this TV show. In the end, I spent all my time on that. But then, 5 years later, down the track, there was Twitch. So there was a bit of validation on my part that, okay, it's true. People do watch video games, and it creates a lot of different countercultures or cultures around that. I started working as a writer, so that's my skill set. I can write, and I started writing for a magazine in Singapore called Game Axis, where I then got to be the editor, and I also incorporated a lot of pop culture stuff. So I covered comic books, I review shoes, music, and movies. So everything that was part of geek culture around me. And then I ended up moving to Norway because of my then girlfriend, who is now my wife, and ended up working in a place called Funcom. This crazy game called The Secret World, which was a multiplayer online role-playing game about modern day times. And in this game, you don't play as like, the World of Warcraft, like orcs or elves. You play as the Illuminati or the Templars. And in this whole entire idea, every conspiracy theory is true in the game. So my whole entire job was to spend time reading a lot of conspiracy theories. So I'm really a little bit crazy in the head because I've read a lot of weird stuff. But at the same time, I create a lot of viral marketing campaigns out of that. Ended up working in EA also for this game company called Secret Island. 2 weeks before we were supposed to launch, EA pulled the plug on the game and said, "Oh, well, you know what? We're closing the studio." And unfortunately, this is what my experience of working in video games has been, a roller coaster ride of like amazing creativity, a lot of talented people, but oh my God, what a volatile experience. And you never know, you know, sometimes success just comes, and sometimes even though you put so much effort into it, things will just fall apart. But that ended up working in my own company, and then started working as a media consultant and producer in Tromsø, and that's how I got hired into the municipality, where I'm now currently a project leader for this brand called Kreativ Technologi. Now, a lot of these things does not happen in out of vacuum. The interesting thing about Tromsø is that Tromsø has this amazing building called Tvibit. Tvibit in Norwegian is a slang, it's a North Norwegian slang that basically means a safe space. When you're playing police and thieves, you know, the place where you know the robbers can't be caught, that's a Tvibit. That's the type of space where we just allow you to fail, allow you to actually create stuff without any expectation, without you expecting it to be a major success, but everyone's rooting for you. So that's Tvibit's type of philosophy, and it's been around for a while. And they have been supporting all the traditional cultural movements. So we're talking about film, you know, film, music, such a huge part, performance arts. And then technology came into play, and then they were like, okay, what do we do about games? And that's how I ended up working with particularly this segment of people. Tvibit is not a school. It's about informal learning through projects, seminars, and workshops. So a lot of it's ad hoc, coming from the community itself. In Tvibit, the philosophy is that we don't know what we want to do this year, but we're going to know what the market wants. So the market speaks to us. All the youths come up to hang out with us and tell us, like, you know, I really want to learn how to do AI stuff, or I really want to learn how to do Unreal. And that's how we then, you know, we start to work out and find real people, good people or lecturers who can actually teach all these subjects to all our users, and basically up their game. So you can check us out on our website at tvbit.net, or if you happen to one day come to Tromsø, I'd love you to come visit this lovely little building that we have. So in the beginning, when I was hired in, this was the main thesis. So as a filmmaker, myself, I said, man, you know what? If only filmmakers were working with gamers or game developers, they will create crazy stuff. I can imagine that that's going to happen. And of course, it's true. I mean, to a certain degree, filmmaking also is a highly technological process. You do a lot of editing, you do a lot of graphics, you do a lot of motion graphics. There's so many tips and tricks that you can make a movie fantastic. But this theory had to have like more of like a explanation into how we actually put it into play. So this was in 2016, that was the birth of commercial VR. That's when you start seeing all the Samsung phones, you start seeing the first Oculus Quest, or back then it was just called the Oculus. And we wanted to explore 360 filmmaking. And how is 360 filmmaking gonna work? Is this a viable platform? Can you create actual good narrative? How do you block shots when it's 360 and you can see everything? So this was the study that we were doing. And at the same time also, we also had a film festival called Norwegian Youth Film Festival. So it's 1 week where everyone just has to create an idea from scratch all the way until showing it to a cinema audience. And we had a group of, half of them were game developers, half of them were filmmakers. And we put them together, we shake them up, we gave them a lot of like guidelines, and we say, okay, let's see what you guys create. And in the end, they didn't create a 360 film, they created an interactive film. But in that process itself, during my time there, we start creating a safe space for gamers to hang out. And this was a super important aspect of it. Because a lot of these gamers, they are used to actually talking online, playing with their friends online or in their small groups of friends, but they not used to actually just socializing on a larger aspect. And they also not use the fact that a lot of gamers say that they're gamers, but they are not really quite aware of how much history there is in video games. So one of the first projects that we had was that we brought the Commodore 64 to all these young kids and like, here, you guys set it up. And you were like, what's this stuff? Cassettes and everything. So, but they did it, and then they enjoyed the process, and they started building all this. We had every Wednesday we had the gaming sessions, and then we start seeing like different types of communities. So we had a bunch of people who really loved playing Super Smash, and they wanted to be esports athletes, and they wanted to have a space where they can actually practice playing Smash every week. So we gave them a space. A lot of the girls were like, okay, we just want to have an all-girls session as well. Okay, yeah, sure, let's do that. And all this like exposure to different types of like ways that gamers approach or gamers consume games or talk about games or play games really made me to really open my mind, widen my horizons around that. Yeah, and it started going bigger and bigger. This is from a little LAN parties that we have inside the house, and you can start see that there's a rising movement. It was very organic. So from then on, we started also going around and teaching primary schools kids how to work with VR. And this was super inspiring also to come to Latvia, where VR is such a central part of the culture here. And so many interesting businesses is doing that, and especially in Dartec, where young kids as well. So I love the fact that the young kids are exposed to it and realizing that there is a lot of potential to it, a lot of new ways that they can actually learn how to work with VR as a media. And for us, it's not just about playing games, it's about creating with the technology that you have at hand. So let's see. Oh, it's not moving to the next slide? Oh, sorry. Let's go back one. No. Let's see. One more behind. There we go. The lag. Okay. There we go. So out of the whole entire experience, after we start building this organic community, after we start establishing the fact that there exists a need, even this small little area in North Norway where 40,000 people, there's a community of like gamers. A lot of them are eager. They have skill sets. They have different things that they can actually impart into society. How do we create this into an actual infrastructure, a structure for them to work? So for us, luckily enough, we managed to get funding. And funding came from a very different source than where your regular funding comes from. Our funding came from a bank. And in this instance, the bank had this scheme where they give back to the community itself. So from our project description, the intention was that we were going to explore game culture development, new media techniques in North Norway. That was the first original statement that we had. And we got funded for around about 250,000 euros per year, just to actually focus on this aspect here. And of course, that money was a lot, but it also ended up allowing us to create actual facilities that really work. So we had a media lab for people to live stream from. We had a makerspace that people can learn how to 3D print and 3D model. And we also had a co-working environment where everyone can just sit down informally, have a project idea that didn't come from school, it came from their heart, and they can sit down with us and can talk about it and can discuss and work on it. At the same time, we were giving a lot of support to film festivals. We're doing a lot of R&D projects, and of course, in this instances, collaborations like what we're doing with Noban and with in Latvia. So lovely opportunity for us to learn from each other. And I can't do this on my own. I am not, like I said, I'm mostly a writer, producer, or creative director. You can say that, but I also need a lot of good technical skills in my team. And interesting enough, a lot of people on my team none of them are formally educated. A lot of them are educated by YouTube. So they all grew up watching YouTube, applying all their YouTube skills at home or in their work, and learning constantly, all the time. So Bjorn is a gamer, a Twitch streamer himself. Chris is a crazy AI artist and 3D artist. Sebastian does all the live streaming and is a live stream technician. And we also have interns who's been joining us every year, coming in from the schools. So so I love the fact that the team itself is not like, oh, high accolades or whatsoever. It's just that you show that you can actually do the work, and you have a great portfolio behind you that you have established, that you have actually been involved in a lot of different productions. Together, we have been creating this. So this is a little showreel of the stuff that we do at Kreativ Teknologi, and I'll just play it while let it play. I just want to get down to two important case studies that we've been working on. One is an aspect that I think some of you, or at least most of you, are starting to get a lot more familiar with. Maybe 5 years ago, when you say virtual production, people are like, what? What are you talking about? But these days, it is the current convention. Everyone uses virtual production. In fact, most of the stuff that you see on Netflix, all filmed on a LED screen, mostly. Then I also have another project called Norway's Best Gamer, which is also, for me, it's a reinvention of esports, which I feel is a lovely market, but not doing enough work to appeal to the masses, and not actually a representation of gaming culture, enough of a representation of gaming culture. So let's start with the slide on virtual production. So virtual production, how many of you are familiar with that, at least? Yeah, sort of, kind of, yeah. I think a lot of people are familiar with this aspect here, right? A lot of people are like, right, Mandalorian. That was filmed on that crazy digital screen, 10-meter wall, and very expensive, using Unreal to recreate all the scenes behind you. Why the hell would you do that when you can actually do that on a green screen? There are perks to it. There's reflections, there are brightness, there is tracking, so everything feels a lot more realistic than what you see on green screens today. If you're watching Lord of the Rings right now, you'd be like, oh man, that doesn't look quite right. I don't know why, but you can't put your finger on it. It really is probably the parallax movement, the tracking itself. The fact that your subtlety of your eye realizes that this is not real, this is artificial. But if you're seeing a virtual production, that gap is even closer now. Like it feels a lot more real. So this type of studios is only available for, I don't know, like Hollywood. 5 years ago, you only can get access to all these like very specialized film lots that was working on virtual production. And here's the irony of it. If you're a filmmaker, you want to learn this process, you can't gain access to these lots because you need to be a very established filmmaker. You need to be an established 3D artist or whatsoever. So what happens to all the amateur filmmakers then? Would they even have access to these spaces? So for us, it was an important priority to actually invest in a virtual production unit so that we can actually continue working and developing ideas and also allowing our amateur filmmakers to utilize it. The process wasn't easy. I mean, took us a long time to decide on what is the framework. So we went to Stuttgart, actually, FMX Festival in Germany, which was a great, amazing festival, where it was the first time I saw a film festival where they put the focus not on the director, but on the technical director, on the people who were behind the scenes, who were actually creating all the LED units and panels and explaining the technologies, animations, and everything. And we were seeing like, oh, wow. So, okay, that's enough. You don't need like a 10-meter wall, 10-meter long wall and a 5-meter. You can actually crimp it down to a certain size. So in the end, we made a huge investment. It's still a huge investment, 140,000 euros around about there, to purchase our first LED wall right now. And we also relied on our, informally educated crew to figure it out. So for them, like, okay, we got a virtual production set. Let's figure it out, guys, and figure it out. They did. I mean, basically, that's what they did. They set it up and then they played Escape from Tarkov and sent it to Reddit. And the Escape from Tarkov guys were like, "Oh my god, I want to play on that screen." So that created a lot of like media, or at least attention in that aspect. But when it came down to actually working on it, we started to educate both, let's see, both the traditional filmmakers itself. We educated our cultural leaders in the municipality, like this is the process, this is the future of filmmaking. And we set to work on our first actual virtual production film. In a week, we created this particular movie from scratch, all with the people who have zero experience with it and learning. Like we've got based on the same concept, half the team are developers, half the team are filmmakers. And the developers themselves, they were like, okay, Unreal, okay, I can figure this out, I can create a set. And they did that, and we filmed it through a whole entire week. And this was the sum result. I'm not going to play the whole entire movie. It's a great movie. It's fun. It's 4 minutes long, but I was happy with the fact that the theory itself said that if you give it to enough to raw talents, they will find a way. They will figure it out, and when they figure it out, they will figure out a completely different approach. So from then on, it was not just filmmaking itself. I mean, right now we've been also running lots of workshops for also actual filmmakers in the North region, and this has been really helpful for our filmmakers to actually upgrade their skill sets. This was also another project that was a film that was done in 2 days with like full-on sets and tracking. And we also broke it apart. We started to explore other avenues, not just filmmaking itself. It's a screen. So with the screen itself, can we use it in performance arts? Can we use it in theater performances? And the answer is a resounding yes, because there's so much more that you can do. One great example is the one that you see on the right down here. This was a dance performance that was also created with AI. So I'm going to show you a little clip of that, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about it. See what it is, please? was important for in virtual production. It's not just the screen; it's far beyond that. And I think that there's a lot more room to explore in that potential itself. Now, the next one I'm going to go to is a thing called Norge's Beste Gamer, Norway's Best Gamer. And for me, it was to redefine the definition of a gamer. So, how many of you are, I don't know, familiar with esports? Yeah, everyone's okay, great. Esports is a very established thing, right? And esports has always been about the big games. So Counter Strike, you have Valorant, you have League of Legends, Dota, all the established big ones. Now the thing about esports, and this is for me the painful part about esports, is that you only reach out to the 1% of the gaming audience out there, the 1% who actually love that game, and the rest of the people be like, I don't know what I'm watching. You know, like, and this is the true fact when you might be cheering on the team, but you're like, if you're not understanding the rules of the game itself, you're not gonna get a chance to be explained the whole entire thing. So for us, like, what is the idea of a gamer? A gamer for me is someone who is unafraid, who's able to understand a system really, really quick, and who just like jump into something without like, without fear, because it's fun. It's something I can play with. So with a whole bunch of with Bjorn, who is also one of my staff members, and Jonas, who is a teacher, we founded this idea, this concept. And the concept was very simple. We started with this thing called Tromsø's Beste Gamer, and we said to everyone who wanted to join the competition, come join the competition. We're gonna compete in a variety of games. What games? We're not telling you. You just come here. You're a gamer, right? You just come, and they were like, what? Okay, skeptical, but with the attraction of a prize or something like that, they were like, okay, let's join in, and we gave them 5 different type of games that they have to compete in. So from old school arcade classics to modern day like FPSs. And everyone was like unafraid because they were like, okay, then everyone's just gonna be bad. So then it's all good, So the idea was that you just go to every station, do your best. You get like 1 minute to understand the rules from our game marshal. Our game marshal will explain the rules to you, and then play it, and then see whether you actually gain the best score. So for me, it was the idea of like, can I test the person's versatility in playing games? Can I test their openness to it? And this concept has actually grown from our small okay, let's try to change this, to suddenly like all our partners around North Norway, they were like, hey, that was really fun what you guys did. Can we do that as well? Can we join in? And we're like, oh yeah, for sure, yeah. So in the end, we ended up like 5 different cities in the north who were joining in, and then it started getting bigger and bigger because like the people in the south, they were like, we also want to join in. Like, oh my God, yeah, now we can't call it North Norway's Best Gamer. We have to go national then. Okay, let's do it. Norway's Best Gamer. Now I can explain to you what kind of games we play, and you can see this from this clip. This is from a very famous Norwegian YouTube channel that came and competed in the Oslo qualification rounds. And this is the point in the clip where they will reveal the 5 games. And it'll be interesting to see what you guys think about the 5 games that we picked out for that year. So they get themselves a little like form, and then they just have to go through every station. But the point here is that you saw the joy in everyone. They're like, I played that, or they were like thinking about all these like great fond memories they have. And that for me was the thing that was missing in esports, at least the esports that I experienced today, where I don't feel the representation of myself, and I don't see the representation of my history, of so much of the culture in video games. That's not, that this is not representation of true gamer culture. So because of the format and because of this change in our attitudes or change in the competition format, we had to really start educating a lot of people around that. And the best way to educate that is to actually create a handbook. So for us, we started writing down this whole entire handbook. So we distribute to all the different partners who are like interested in building the same type of format. And it just explains like how do you pick the games, how do you score the games, how do you rally people, how do you market. And now this is now being distributed nationally in Norway, and it's been great. My point also is that now we're actually moving towards another new phase. We are actually trying to build Europe's best gamers. So bearing in mind that I'm speaking to a Latvian audience, or I'm speaking to audiences from all over the Baltics, I really want to see whether there are other people who will be very, very interested in also utilizing this format, because in 2026, we're actually going to run Europe's best gamer. And we're going to find representations from all over. And this is from our finals. So I will just show you the little clip. This is from this year's finals. So we've been through Norway's Best Gamer twice. And in our finals, there is a difference in the format. The qualifications, you've got no idea what games you're playing. For the finals, the selected finalists from all different cities, they're actually trained by our game marshals for 2 months. Because if you are actually going to showcase this and you're going to show this on Twitch, you're gonna need to actually be quite good at the game. You can't suck at the game, you know, you got to be actually some level. And the finals is also multi-format. It's almost like a decathlon of video games. Like you're not just playing the one video game, you're playing 10 video games. And each of the 10 video games has different challenges. So 16 finalists, all from 8 different cities, 2 from every city. And they all came down to Tromsø for a whole entire weekend of gaming. This is what happened.
Så vinner!
Og Peter klarer det på 5. Og så han stønna, og det kan være over.
Beklager, det var Jens og Carles som må kaste inn håndkleet for i år.
Dessverre. Vi ser først at Adrian B, Kjetil og Antonio, dessverre, dere er nå blitt eliminert fra Norges beste gamer. Lykke til på neste.
Adrian, du er den Bergen-finalisten som har kommet seg lengst i konkurransen ever, men dessverre går du ikke videre. Even, du er videre til semifinal! Er dere klare for Grand Finals? 3, 2, 1, kjør! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Og da var det over. Torkil tar første game i Grand Finals.
Sin og
Enda en kill på Even!
Tredje kill flekser med kastøks.
Wow! En nok til å...
Even tar en trickshot! La oss kåre Norges beste gamer. Let's go!
Klar, ferdig, gå!
Og Torgeir kaster sverdet med en gang.
Torgeir kaster sverdet, men blir spinna. Og Even tar en rull og en low kick. Men blir stoppet av Torgeir. Blir dolka i ryggen.
Blir tilbake. Er det siste mulighet?
Er det siste mulighet? Er det over? Det er over! Torgeir er Norges beste gamer!
In order for gaming culture to really thrive, or for game culture to thrive, you really need to create a stable base. This is the most important component. That's why we always have weekly events where we don't expect gamers to do anything but play games. And this is an opportunity for us to actually sit down and talk to them. So get to know them on a very, very personal level, you know, and then hear about what is their interest, and then try to map out and like, you know, figure out what's the process here. Building this community in safe space and having a continuity in there is super key to it. So I know there are spaces around here, but I do not know how often and how regular you guys are meeting up, but this should be the first thing that everyone should be doing. The second part is that you should embrace gaming as the core, but it's also not good that we always keep saying gamers or game development or like everything is just siloed into this small aspect. Gamers have so much more to give. There are areas in filmmaking. Right now, we're actually working with lots of crossovers in music as well, doing music videos with a lot of performers. And for me, the challenge or having the screen or utilizing, giving them a room to combine these two together is the core of like learning more about this culture here. I'm lucky to work at Tvibit, which is a house which is full of like lots of different cultural activities. So it's easy for me to create collaboration and crossovers because I can just go upstairs or I can go find a musician and be like, hey, do you want to be part of this like project that we're doing? But it works. I mean, you can still, as a gamer yourself, you can actually consider thinking about like, okay, maybe my musician friend might want me to create something for them, you know, like, or be part of that process. There's so much you can do. I also see a lot of value in highlighting what I call the YouTube generation, people who are learning, the intrinsic motivation versus academic qualifications. Technology moves so fast right now that whatever you're learning in school might actually be a little bit slower than what you're learning on YouTube. So, and the ones who are really like the ones who are extremely talented people are the ones who are constantly updating themselves, not waiting for school to give them a curriculum, but going on YouTube and finding out themselves. So for me, that's my guideline. If I speak to someone who is talented or fresh young talent, I always ask them like, how do you keep yourself updated? What do you guys do? How do you learn? And if they tell me like, oh yeah, I'm always constantly picking up my YouTube, I'm doing something, then I know that they have that intrinsic motivation rather than, you know, I'm doing it just because I'm making my parents happy that I'm going to school. You know what I mean? And you know, set your ambitions, find the funding. There is a lot of funding available in gaming or game culture. There's so much in technology itself, but defining what you want to do, like having a space and saying that collaboration and crossovers is the area we want to approach, is I think underutilized. A lot of people are just focusing on gaming or games itself, but how we can actually cross-cultural breakdowns. And also being a bit more neutral. So that's why there's the reason why I call our department creative technology rather than creative gaming, you know. So having a neutralized idea of that. I'm wrapping up because it's late, and I guess everyone is also happy to continue working on their projects. I hope that inspires some people. I hope it inspires some people to come to Tromsø also and, you know, experience us in the flesh. And also apply some of these things that you've seen. in potentially cultural pursuits or even like business ideas. Thank you.